opponents may say that population control takes away our freedom, but I would like to disagree. My teammates and I have said that how well population control works for China, that population hurts our environment, and why it would be a good change for the U.S. And I would like to say that not only the United States, but our world needs to begin the usage of population control. It would bring extreme benefits and a truly better way of life. Just think about it. What would you choose? Based on my research, I can now see how big of a deal population control actually is. Did you think the world could be actually disappearing before your eyes? Did you realize that you are causing harm, and if you're against population control, you've decided to do nothing about it? We are putting ourselves closer and closer to the end. We are draining our resources, non-renewable resources that is, and we have the solution right in our hands. This may not affect you in your lifetime, but think about your future family. You are putting the expansion of your generations in danger. You are in control of their future. Larger families also struggle much more than an average family. 36% of families with 3 or more children are in poverty. Most parents with larger families don't even work or are capable of providing for their needs of their children. There are 7 billion people living on this earth, and approximately 4.7 billion people are living in low incomes. We are trying to help our people. This is only going to get worse. What's happening now obviously isn't working. We need a change. The economy is just not fit for our large families, and population control is the solution for the daily struggle of large families. I say, we have the choice to change our world into a better place. What are we waiting for? The choice is obvious. So let's make our mark. We are the leaders in this world, so let's get off on the right foot and prove how population control would bring a better way of life.
My opponent may say too many people will affect the amount of resources we have, but I disagree. Because by the time population is a big problem, humans will be able to maintain resources, says Ross B. Emmett. Humans will be smart enough to find a way to help Earth's resources. In other words, our resources are not a big concern. They will always be here because of human smarts. We've made major technology improvements. We used to think touchscreens were a dream, but now they are part of everyday life. If we can overcome that, we can overcome anything. Therefore, it won't be a problem to the resources since we can fix it. My opponent may say the world's population is increasing rapidly, but I disagree, because according to Ask.com, the average family has 3.14 people in it, which isn't many at all. The world's population isn't going to increase very fast with only 3 people in a family. Assuming a family has 2 parents, then that only leaves 1 child. You can't limit that to 0 because then there would be no future generations. Therefore, even though the world's population is increasing, it's not increasing very fast. My opponent may say it would be easy and more efficient, but I disagree because debate.org says there's no good legal way to do so. The only effective way would be to institute a limit on how many children you can have, which is a violation of human rights. I couldn't agree more. If someone wishes to have 1 child, then they can. If someone wants to have 10 children, then they can. It's up to them how many kids they want. Having children is a freedom that shouldn't be taken away. How would you feel if you couldn't have pets? That's basically the same thing as saying they can't have kids. Therefore, even though my opponent says it would be easy, the only effective way would be putting a limit on how many kids you can have, and it takes away our freedom.
My opponent may say that population control would preserve our natural resources and would also prevent overcrowding. My teammates have stated that population control would take away people's right to be creative. It is not a significant issue, and that overpopulation is not at all in our near future. People are getting worked up over nothing. As stated by Erie Ellis, there really is no such thing as a human carrying capacity. We are nothing at all like bacteria in a petri dish. He has a good point. If we jump on the thought that our country is becoming overpopulated, we will more than likely be causing more of a problem than overpopulation itself. Also, think about technology. It's consistently advancing. Before we know it, someone could invent new ways to live in places like underwater, which cover 71% of the Earth's surface, or in outer space, where the amount of space does not cease. Over 100 years ago is when people decided that population control would save our planet. That was 100 years ago, and it still hasn't changed the way we live our lives today like everyone said it would. My teammates agree that people always need something else to blame for the bad things that happen in this world. Unfortunately, our population has become one of them. People jump to conclusions without reasoning and end up causing others to jump with them. But my teammates and I have done our research and have come to the conclusion that population control is unnecessary and very overthought.
Our opponents may say it violates Americans' rights, but we disagree because only 28% of American women take full advantage of their fertility anyway, which is 3 kids. So most U.S. women aren't interested in fulfilling their population potential anyway. Also, Earth already suffers from extreme overcrowding, and the food supply of first world countries cannot be balanced if the population grows much more. These factors could send third world countries into deeper population or poverty havoc than they already are, and could start severely and quickly turn the U.S. to rubble. Isn't doing that more corruptive and evil than limiting something only 28% of women take interest in anyway? Our opponents have also said that population control would bring no benefit to the U.S., but we have a different thought. Have you ever considered the health benefits, both physical and mental, that population control would bring to the U.S.? After having their allotted amount of children, the couple could have their reproductive organs removed, which would eliminate breast and ovarian cancer, the 2 top murderous cancers in the United States. I know. I see my grandma struggle every day with ovarian cancer. It's painstaking to watch. Her constantly having to be taking medicines, spending hours and hours in the hospital with chemo and radiation. I would have agreed to almost anything that would have prevented that for her. Also, after a woman gives birth, her body becomes less and less primed to have another child. Henceforth, population control would be preventing mental health problems associated with pregnancy difficulties, as in miscarriages. These problems, such as depression, can prompt things like self-hurting or suicide. Isn't it bad enough when people die from things like cancer or heart disease? We don't need women killing themselves for things that 50% of the time isn't their fault. Therefore, the 2-child policy needs to be an established law in America.